Good evening, friends. I'm thankful to Association of Gynecological Endoscopic Surgeon Nigeria for inviting me here in their 5th international conference and allowing me to share my views with this. Friends, communication is very important in our practice. Communication with the patient is a skill, and it is said that you can avoid litigation by 3 things: communication, communication, and communication. If you are good at it, you can definitely avoid all medical legal problems. It is said that more you talk with the patient in the consulting room, less you will have to talk against her in the courtroom. So you have to learn to communicate. When we talk about communication, you have to go back to the theater training which I have taken in India. And it starts with this shloka for communication. It is about Lord Shiva. You will not understand it is in Sanskrit. Angikam bhuvanam yasya vachikam sarva vangmayam aharyam chandra taradi tvam nama satvikam shivam. But what we have to focus is on 4 things that is there in the shloka. Body language. Angikam means body language. Vachikam means speech. Aharyam means ornament and clothes. And Satvikam means purity. These 4 things should be there in a communication. Let us see one by one. Body language. Body language includes gestures. Now, gestures should match with the content of your speech. That is very much important. It should match with your internal feelings. And if it matches with your internal feeling, automatically the connection starts between you and the person with whom you are communicating. If expressions are real, then words are not needed. We can see this from this video. You see the body language, and you can immediately come to know what the baby is trying to convey, what type of emotions the baby is having, right? So body language is very important. We need not speak, we need not talk, but our body language will definitely convey the message to the other party. And this is very much important in our practice to learn the body language, right? So, and it helps when we are short of words. What are such situations? While breaking the bad news, this will help you in such situations. At such time, you are as such short of words. You are giving some bad news to the patient. It is better you communicate more with your body language rather than telling something which may be interpreted wrongly. So less words, more emotions. Do not overexpress. I don't want you to be an actor, but it should come from within. But it should be expressed more by body language. The empathy should speak more. And one more thing I would like to say, never use the word which the patient doesn't understand. Like there is one English word, sorry. One doctor, after the operation theater, he came out and he said, sorry, we cannot save your patient. The case was filed and the patient said in the court that doctor already said sorry, it was his mistake. So do not use the word or language which the patient doesn't understand. Speech, the second part. Speech. Speech includes content and tone. And that is how you can make the difference. You can give weight at certain points. You can give weight on certain words, and that will be imbibed in the patient's mind. In an argument, it is said that it is better to raise the standard of the content of your speech rather than raising your volume. So you have to maintain your volume, but you have to also control your content and the tone of the speech. Suppose this is a word, only I love you. I only love you. I love only you. All 3 has a different meaning. We are shifting the word only by 1 letter. So that is how you have to put weightage to a particular place where you can get the response which you really want to achieve. There are certain words, powerful words, which are engraved in our mind, like the word of Abraham Lincoln.
Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
So we know these words, right? Abraham Lincoln said this, and it is there in our mind that of the people, by the people, for the people. These words are engraved, these are powerful words. So you also can use some such words which will be there remain in patient's mind. And communication will help you in our practice more than remaining silent, because it helps in taking consent and counseling. This is the main use of communication skills. What is consent? It is altogether a different topic in itself, but still I will give you certain highlights about the consent as well. Consent is basically a legal contract between you and a patient. So all the terms and conditions of the Contract Act should be fulfilled. It is very important in the medico-legal case. What all should be told to the patient? The contract should require certain things. Like you have to tell the patient few things. First, the procedure, what procedure you are going to do. You have to tell how you are going to do. You have to tell what benefit patient is going to get. You have to tell what are the side effects which can occur, or what are the risks involved in that procedure. You have to tell what are the alternates which are available to that procedure. And you also have to tell the ill effects of no treatment. If patient doesn't undergo that treatment, what will happen to the patient? These 6 things should be there in each and every consent, and all should be documented. And that is why you can have a consent for particular procedure. You can use procedure specific consents for making it more reliable in the court of law. And taking consent is an art. It is like your wife asking, what should she cook for dinner tonight? You will say pizza. She'll say, no, that is fast food. You will say, okay, you make some khichdi, or she will say, no, not at night. You will say, okay, we will have bread. No, that is yeast. But then she will say that I already have dough for pancake. Now, if she is ready, then why is she giving us options? Just because to make us feel empowered. That is what is consent all about. You have to offer the treatment to the patient which you are good at, but the patient should feel empowered. You are giving all the options, but you have to tell the options in such a way that the patient feels empowered, that they have decided what you are offering to her. So that is a skill which we have to develop, at least from your spouse. The most common questions which can be asked by the patient are, is there any risk? Nothing will happen to me. Doctor, you cannot say that nothing will happen to you. There is one more question they will put, my friend underwent the same operation and now she has a problem. What do I say in such situation? I always tell that even if something happens to someone, there is a chance that you may not get the same thing. There are so many people traveling on the road. Some of them gets or meets with an accident. Everybody doesn't. And we don't stop traveling just because somebody met with an accident. Similarly, you have to tell your patient that you can go ahead and get the surgery done. Will I be all right after this? You have to tell that this surgery is going to correct the pathology. The symptoms we have to again re-evaluate, because that was happened in one case. Patient was having chronic pelvic pain. There was endometriotic uterus and that was removed. And even after removal of uterus, patient was having pain and she complained in the court. So you cannot guarantee about the result, but you can always say that there can be 2 pathology. We are removing one and we will see whether you are having benefit in the symptoms or not. Should I go to another doctor? He gives another guarantee. If she says so, let her go to that doctor. Do not say or do not tell her that I am also giving you 100% guarantee. Sometimes patient tests you by putting such words in your mouth. Is it a normal operation? You can always tell that operation can't be normal. Whenever there is an operation, that means there is some pathology. So there is nothing like normal operation, right? And when they read word death in the consent, they refuse to sign. And how do I tackle it? Once the patient told me that, doctor, you have written death here in a complication. I will not sign. I said, okay, you remove that line and you write one line below that you will not die on the table. She started laughing. I said, see, when you can't guarantee, even I can't guarantee. And I can't guarantee even for myself that whether I will be alive tomorrow to operate on you or not. By this way, you can make them sign the consents. So you have to give them various examples and various situations so that they will understand the problem. Cloth and ornaments. That includes dressing of your in your profession. See, this is we are living in an era where your impression will be created from your clothing first. So always wear the office wear. Neat and clean it should be. Always wear light colors. From the dress, people often judge your profession, designation, sincerity, cadre, etc. This is a picture of Indian actor Amitabh Bachchan. The actor is same, but you see his dress. In one dress, you can immediately make out that he is an inspector. Here he is a coolie. Here he is a potter. You can immediately make out that what he is acting as. Similarly, if you are not dressed well enough, the person will not take you or recognize you as a consultant. So, as I told you, your dressing should be good. Personality is often judged by the dress in today's, at least in today's world. Well-dressing will get you respect and authenticity in the minds of patient. It will be easy to convince the patient if you are well-dressed, right? And last but not the least, the important part, if all first three are not there, at least there has to be purity. And what is purity? Purity is something which comes from the heart. If you are pure, if your intentions are pure, automatically the things will become pure naturally, and that the other heart will pick. And it is said that when heart speaks, the other heart listens. And when brain speaks, the other brain starts analyzing. So if you are doing surgery for your benefit, automatically the patient will start analyzing you. But if you are definitely talking about the patient's benefit, if that is the particular aim in your heart, definitely the patient will perceive it. One has to deal differently with different personalities. There is no common formula applicable to all for communication. And I will give you one example. It is said in our saying in Sanskrit, Tunde Tunde Mati Vibhinna. That means every person has different ideas. Every person has different level of intelligence, different level of understanding, different beliefs in their mind. And that is why you have to apply different formula for different patients. Some patients are balanced, educated, and intelligent. They are straight patients. You can give them all the scientific information, the scientific logics, theories, percentage, and they will buy your surgery. Some patients will listen only what they believe in their mind, whatever you say. Like I will give you an example. Will I deliver normally? Because they want to have normal delivery. Now, if you tell that there is 20% chance of cesarean, what they will listen? They will say that doctor told very clearly that cesarean will happen, because you have used that word that there is 20% chance of cesarean. Instead, for such patients, you have to break their belief. There was one more patient which I dealt with. She was always afraid of cancer. I said, we will have to do endometrial biopsy. She said, no, I feel that I am having cancer. I will have cancer. I will have cancer. To such patients, you have to break their belief. I told her that 80% of the patient whom I take biopsy have normal reports. So she immediately surrendered herself for the surgery. 20% is a big chance to have a cancer, but still you have to break their belief by giving the opposite statistics. So you have to deal such patients by breaking their belief, those who have preconceived notion in their mind. Some patients are irritating. They will ask the same question again and again. You have to make them write the questions and tick mark as they ask. I always do that. I also give the same reply, and I also make them repeat the reply. I say that you tell me, now you tell me what is the reply. And I also make them aware that they have already asked this question by showing them the tick mark, which they have already put in their sheet. So you have to deal with them like this. I'll give an example also. I tell them that, look, if I ask you, what is your name? You will say one name to me. And then if I ask you again, what is the name of the husband of your wife? The answer will remain same. Similarly, if you ask me same question by a different means, my answer will remain same. They will definitely laugh and they will at least spare you for that point of time. There are patients who will have full trust on you and they will say, doctor, you are God. You do whatever you want to do. You do what you would have done to your relatives, etc., etc. Do not just buy all these things and buy all this praise which we have given to you, because when something goes wrong, these people will make you dog from the God. So to such patient, you also have to tell them that I will be there with you all the time, but still the results are in the hands of God. I am not God. And I assure you about my services, but not about the results. This thing should go in their brain straight and very clearly. One more kind of patient you will encounter. They will either not understand what you say or they do not want to understand purposefully. They will bring the patient and you will tell the relatives that patient has diabetes, hypertension, anemia, altered coagulation profile, convulsions, obesity, thyroid, etc., etc. And they will say, doctor, there is nothing more, no? Only this much, no? And then I reply to them that there is nothing more. Yes, because there is nothing left to happen. All the systems are full of disease. And then they will say, sir, you have to treat him anyhow. You have to tell them that I don't want to treat them. You just try refusing the treatment and they should beg you to take this patient. If that happens, you have to take high risk consent also. And then only you have to take this patient. Otherwise, you refer such patient to your nearest enemy. But do not take risk of taking such patients without making them understand the actual problem. So there are certain tips on communication skill. Listen to the patient's question, never cut other person's sentence, reply calmly after a pause, give examples, be more specific in description, ask question to confirm if they have understood, and if you can't convince them, at least confuse them. That is what we do in law. And last but not the least, if you are good at communication, or if you're not good at communication, then accept your limitation and appoint a staff who is smart and can deal with all such patients by good communication skill. We must outsource the thing that we can't do. Even the political parties have spokesperson. And we do not listen many a times. Good listening skill is also part of communication. Always listen to understand the concern of others. We usually listen to counter-argue. That should not happen. Wise men speak because he has something to say. A fool speaks because he has to say something. And George Bernard Shaw has said that the simple biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Let that not happen in our consulting room. So with that, I would like to say that good communication is not just necessary to save your skin from medical legal problem. Good communication is a reflection of good human nature, which we all must have. Friends, this is the last slide, and that is a disclaimer that all the tips on communication skill given to you are for the use in your profession. And the speaker does not advise and give no guarantee of its usefulness at your home. In short, do not try it on your spouse. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you. Thank you once again for giving me an opportunity.